because when you're talking about having ourselves depending on everything, because you talk about neo-colonialism, as we speak, educational system is more of colonial type still. Because you've mentioned being forced to be prepared to be clerks that will be able to assist the colonial administrators.
Sure.
And there's nothing different us being now just trained to fit in a geo or socio-economic paradigm where we only be serving as employees ready to receive a particular token at the end of the month. It does not even serve us for the rest of the month. Having to see this kind of drinks that we place here. I remember we putting this here not for advertisement.
Sure.
We are putting here to send a message that this thing is nothing but pineapple here. Mentioned. We pineapples are grown here.
Yes.
What is wrong with us?
And we have mangoes wasted. If you go to Kafuta around the rainy season when it is the mango period, you realize that mangoes will be wasted there. Cashews is the same. Why can't we use the same thing to process a soft drink like this? This is costing $50.
Yeah, 50.
If we were producing it on our own, it will have cost maybe $20 or $10. So sometimes this is the main essence. I think education should be modeled to make you not superior, but also not inferior. You should have that self-esteem. Because the moment we go out, we feel a little bit inferior. We don't say it out loud, but that's how it is.
That's how we behave.
Your education should be filled with self-esteem. Know your history, your positive history, not only the negative side where you are enslaved or colonized. You have a way advanced history than that. Why is that side not taught? That would have been taught to instill self-esteem in you, that you are somebody before that. And because this happens to you, you are not the only victim of that. You can walk out of it. We are not the only ones to be colonized. Look at the Chinese trade. Look at Japan. Look at them. Look at Korea, South Korea. They are advancing. And these people have experienced colonialism like us. But what is the difference? Look at Singapore, for example. In fact, worse than Gambia when they were regaining their independence. But look at them today. What did they do? They modeled their educational system to serve the interests of their people, not just to fit any global narrative, but the local problem of their country, to solve it. And you build policies based on that, not trying to copy whatever you see outside. And for us, whatever we see outside and we import, we feel big about it, we brag about it.
Thinking is something big.
But yeah, thinking is something big. When that is not actually solving our problem. Our education system should be practical. Tell me, what does it benefit a student to ask to go and learn how to level fish, amoeba, and paramecium or cockroaches? When the same kids in other parts of the world are learning how to make gadgets like this tablet, like this phone, like the camera you are using. Productive things that can bring laptops, things that are important. Medicine, they are producing it, checking, cross-carpeting, using their own herbs, process it into finished and export it. We are consuming that. Why can't we do the same with our science? At the end of the day, we graduate with big jargons, but we cannot do any change.
Yeah, big jargons. We talk grammar too much. And in fact, if you, let's say somebody listening to you break the language, they laugh.
Yes. If you break the language, they say, he's speaking horrible English.
but you're going to fix everything as far as the society is concerned. All of us are victims of all these things. Nothing we can fix. We cannot even know how to fix these things. Rice, simple as rice.
Yeah, even rice. We are spending 4 billion on rice. And we have Jahar Pachar rice field that can feed the entire Senegambian region. And the most interesting part about it is Gambia, we don't have a water body that is totally brine. Half of it is fresh. If you go to Kawur, Kuntawur, you realize that their water is fresh. It's not even brine. We can easily irrigate that so that we can have year-round farming system instead of waiting on erratic rainfall. We can have year-round farming. So as far as Gambia is concerned, we should not even import rice. We should be able to produce our own rice. And we will save 4 billion. Imagine that 4 billion being redirected to Gambian farmers. How much will we make? And look at our debt.
The debt, yeah.
The more we go, the more we are into debt. All this will have helped to solve the debt crisis that we are facing as a country. But because our education is not modeled in practicality, it's just theory based. This is why it's not giving us what we want. You have carpentry. Imagine you have your own furniture. You produce your own. Like this, well, then normally you have Senegalese doing it. Imagine how many Gambians will buy that. You produce your own stuff, your own clothes, your own shoes. That's how you minimize importing things that you spend millions on. Instead of spending millions on those things, you now direct it into Gambia's budget, and then you help Gambians to grow with it. That's how the economy will boom. But we think somehow that we should only copy Western materials, bring that, and then we cannot do anything about it. We are not changing our educational system to be practical. So at the end of the day, you graduate and you go outside, you want to compete with those people. You cannot. You cannot compete with them because they are learning practical part. You are learning all the theory. So it will not work. I think the Chinese proverb even makes it better. They say, I hear, I forget. I see, I remember, I do, I understand. So I think the doing part is what we are lacking as a country. So the more we get that, people will understand and will be able to produce better things for Gambia's consumption.
And that reminds me when people will say, Gambians are good, they have ideas, they can put projects, policies, but implementation, zero. That's the doing part.
Practicality, that's
like
the doing part.
When the doing comes,
because throughout our educational system is just theory, talk. But practicality, that is what we should invest in. That's the aspect that is lacking. As far as we don't invest in practicality or practical education, I think our problem will come here next 50 years complaining about the same status quo. Nothing will change unless we change that.
Yeah, you mentioned that you wanted to study law.
Yes.
And then eventually on the pipeline, it did not materialize simply because you said you didn't have the financial muscles to back it up.
Yes.
And then it seems to me that in this setting or system, as long as no matter whether you have the requirement or not, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
What matters is you must have the finance.
Yes, I think that's the point. And I keep saying this. It is better for the Gambia's government to allow Gambians to pay their primary education, their upper basic education, and senior school education. And then you pay for their university education. So the concept of free education to me makes more sense by allowing tertiary institutions to be free and let the people struggle to have the admission there. Because normal or typical Gambians can pay for their kids' education from nursery school to grade 12. But 90% of Gambians cannot pay for their tertiary education because that is more expensive. So if this free education that is allowed from nursery to, let's say, grade 12 should have been redirected to tertiary education, because around that time the person already had the admission and deserves tertiary education but cannot get it because of finance. It would have been better the person to have the free education at the tertiary level than to have it from primary education, because that one the family can afford it, but the family cannot afford the tertiary education. So it makes more sense to make tertiary education free for those who have the admission than making primary education free, because we can afford that, but we cannot afford the tertiary education. Look at it. Somebody has spent more than 15 years learning, and the person has the requirement only to apply to university, have admission, or apply to the college, have admission, but cannot pay the tuition fee. Is it not more sensible that we make the tertiary education free, and that other one, at least they can pay that on their own? That will not cost them much. But this one is more expensive. They cannot pay it. And that's the most important aspect of education, the tertiary education. So why not we make that one free and make them pay for the basic education? Yes. So I think this should be reconsidered.
Could be that the system wish everybody to be able to read and write. So therefore, let's make the basic education free for all the people to be reading and writing, as long as getting the required technical knowledge for the building of society is concerned. No, that should only be left for those with the financial muscle. Let's say if you are not rich, the tertiary school or education is not for you. That is like, that's what is suggested.
Because how many Gambians can afford 40,000 per annum, or let's say 35,000 per annum plus your transport, your feeding, assignments are coming, you have to make research. That costs a lot for 4 good years. So how many Ghanaians actually can afford that?
And you are struggling even to eat.
And you have to eat, and the family have other social responsibilities.
To take care of.
You are not the only one in your family. You have siblings. They have to look out for them also. You don't expect them to take all those things and give it to you. So that will become a problem. This is why I suggest that it's more sensible that tertiary education will be made free, and then basic education people can pay on their own. But it doesn't tell well for you to have the requirement to pursue your tertiary education only to be stopped for financial reasons. I think that is very unfair.
Yes, now before we move to the next part, I would like you to look at an experience you have learned through your struggles from primary to college.
Well, so far as my struggles are concerned, just like any other normal Gambian, sometimes things don't work well. We have to struggle, improvise, and then carry on. Going to school hungry, carrying out classes hungry, reading hungry, and then it's that hunger that starts my motivation. I was taking that hunger as a motivation that I should be able to do something. My kids, I don't want them to go through the same thing in the future if I should build a family. So basically, that's part of the motivation. For me, I use that negative side as a motivation that I should do something about this. I cannot fail. I have to pass my exams. I have to make sure that it is worth it. All this hunger is worth it. And that fueled me. And I also, along the line, I have colleagues who are very hardworking, like Ibrahim Adabo. He is opposite here. He's my childhood friend. And Ali Tarawale, he is just staying around here. He's very hardworking. So I have academically inclined colleagues who I work with, studied with, and then that also helps for me to, be more academically focused. So basically, that's part of it. Yeah, and as far as struggle is concerned, I would say sometimes I lack, but because I don't want to disturb my parents, I don't tell them anything. I carry certain things on my own. So those were some of the challenges I face as far as education is concerned. And sometimes I don't understand certain things because back then I was a very silent somebody. I don't talk much in class. I am always quiet. I sometimes find it difficult to ask questions. I keep quiet. So I would later go and ask colleagues who may not understand it better than the teacher. So those were some of the things that I struggled with because I was an introvert. I hardly talk much, except when I'm with my normal colleagues. But when I go to a new place, new environment, don't know people much, I'm always very, very silent in my own corner. But focus, silent but focus. So those were things that I struggled with, public speaking. I do have good ideas, but to express it was a problem back then, until when I see myself at St. Augustine's and college. I think that changed my life as a teacher. So I became very vocal. And this is why sometimes when people text me, I say, how do you do this? I feel afraid to express my points in public. I am like, we all started there. I was the one, in fact, back then I find it, my heart will be pumping fast. So those were challenges that I faced in my academic journey, but I overcome it with the help of our mentors and good teachers like Mr. Jata. Now he's at St. Peter's. He was my history teacher. I think they serve as a motivation and helped me to overcome things like that. And also college helped me a lot.
Thank you very much. That is Dennis Gibba. You have heard from him his ideology. And I'm telling you, don't move that point because part 2 will be really interesting. There we talk about the system. And of course, Dennis' vision of politics in this country.